everybody. My name is Jessie, and I'm from Taipei American School. And for college, I'll be attending the University of Chicago, and I will either be double majoring in biology and gender and sexuality studies, or I will be majoring in biology and minoring in gender and sexuality studies. And I am also considering taking a pre-med track. So first of all, why am I attending college in the US? Well, as someone who's never really had a traditional Taiwanese education, going to college in Taiwan is not an option for me. So I wanted to go somewhere that speaks English since it's the language that I am most familiar with. And out of the UK, US, and Canada, I ultimately chose the US since US schools focus more on extracurriculars and your personality rather than just your grades, which is something that really resonates with me. So in comparison with UK schools that really just put a lot of emphasis on academics and Master Canadian schools, I attended some information sessions and decided that I don't really vibe with them. I really think that I would be more happy at a US school. As for my college application process, I first started my Common App personal statement with my essay editor back in about February or March of my junior year. But I really struggled with my personal statement. So I rewrote a lot of drafts that didn't work. And so I didn't make a lot of progress until like the beginning of my senior year. And over the summer, my counselor made me start the essays for the UCs, but I also didn't make a lot of progress and I wasted away a whole summer because I couldn't find the motivation to do these essays as I didn't want to go to California at all. So when I finally said that, no, I'm not going to California, I started my essays for UChicago, my ED school. And in the beginning, the process is kind of hard because I write a lot on my own and I have like a style of my own that's more unique and creative that kind of contradicts a little bit with the more structured and conservative style of college essays. But once I found that balance, all my essays started coming really, really quickly. And these are my extracurriculars. I am a distance runner, so I did cross country and track all 4 years of my high school career, and I was on varsity for all 4 years. And I wrote 2 research papers. One of them was on the effects of race on COVID in the US, and it was published on the Economics Olympiad website. And another one was on the blood-brain barrier that I worked with the platform called Polygens that helps with student research, and it got and my paper got published on a student medical journal like a few months ago. And I also did a lot of volunteer work that I really, really enjoyed. I started a music group that went to senior homes to play charity concerts, and I also volunteered at an animal shelter and participated in a lot of fundraising activities in my school. And as for music, up until the summer of my junior year, before I completely quit music, I played flute and piano very, very competitively. So I had a lot of competitions on my activities list. And finally, I did an internship with the startup Fluff that PANO facilitated for me. One of the biggest questions I think about college applications is how do I stand out? And to answer that, I think personally, my essays were a very, very big reason why I stood out. So as I mentioned before, I write a lot on my own. So naturally, my essays just have a very creative, unique style that really just makes me stand out. But it was also a bit risky, as my counselor said, because some people might not like it, but others might really, really like it. And when I write, I kind of just treat writing as my own free space where I literally just write anything that comes to mind. So as a result, my college essays ended up being like brutally honest and very genuine, and maybe like really edgy. And so my essays really, really showed my personality and my beliefs and thoughts. And I believe that's a big reason why I stood out. And another thing that I think made me stand out was my extracurriculars, even though the profile isn't very different from most people's. I did a lot of things that I did because I really, really liked them. And before I was even thinking about college. And I think that college admission officers can really tell when you actually have passion for your extracurriculars, and that might be another reason why I stood out. My essay writing process usually starts with brainstorming with my essay editor. We would outline everything I want to say in the essay, but we wouldn't write like a step-by-step outline since I find that I write better essays when I just let my creativity flow. And my essays, since I kind of just write whatever I want, they usually end up being rants about like things I think are wrong with the world in my life, but they actually ended up showing a lot of my personal thoughts and beliefs. Like, for example, this essay I wrote for UChicago was about the impact of generational trauma within my own family and the conflict of ideas between my very traditional and conservative grandparents and me, who is really progressive even for my own generation, and how the burden of family affects how I deal with the patriarchy and misogynistic abuse in my own family. Why UChicago? Well, UChicago has always, it's been pretty obvious from the very start that it's my first choice. Ever since the first time I saw their essay prompts, I just felt like really excited because their prompts are so cool and it's really, really different from the other colleges prompts where they kind of just make you say one thing, but UChicago essay prompts are really, really open for interpretation, and they are just very weird and intellectual things that, you know, I would love to think about myself. And another thing about UChicago that really attracted me was the kind of like students UChicago like attracts and like I will get to be with, because I usually find myself a bit too weird for like my peers. And so I would love to go somewhere where more people are as quirky as I am, and I would like feel more relatable. And another thing about UChicago was that I attended a model class called Feminism, Race, Culture, and Liberation. And that was actually what made me decide to study gender and sexuality studies as a major or minor, as opposed to just like pursuing it as an interest. So overall, UChicago just fit with me really well. And biology has always been a pretty obvious choice for me as a major too, since ever since about 7th grade, I've known that I am a science person, but biology in particular really just excites me as I really just find biology really beautiful and interesting. And also I want to use my career as like a way to help people in the world. And I think that a career in medicine would be a really nice way to do that, but I am also not really sure about going to med school. So even if I don't go to med school, biology would be a nice degree to like utilize to help people. As for gender and sexuality studies, I've always had a personal passion for activism regarding like equal rights, like whether that's regarding gender or race or sexuality. And I think that gender and sexuality studies really just sparks my own personal interest in like relevant topics and literature. And I also think that this degree can also help me like better the world. Lastly, I think that college applications is in fact a very personal journey, if you would say that. And I think that in addition to what everything I just said about like, oh, I did all of these to get into the college of my choice, I think that what's more important is that you learn these important life lessons that will ultimately make you like a better person and better at surviving life. One of the biggest things I learned was that the only things that matter are the things that I want, because even though our parents and our counselors have our best interests at mind and or maybe like objectively, some things that they want us to do will be a lot better for what we actually want to do. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what they want you to do because it's your own life. And if you don't want to do it, then it's not the best choice for you. So it's really important that you learn how to say no and to advocate for yourself, even though people might get disappointed in you. And I find that it's actually a lot harder to say no when you actually really care about the person. But they are really, really important life skills that I learned during my college application process. And the second thing I would say is even more important than the first thing, because throughout my college application process, I learned some amazing things about myself that I never knew, but I also struggled and it was very, very traumatizing. And it's very, very likely that you will also feel very lost or very stressed or experience a lot of self-doubt. So I think this process actually taught me the importance of happiness, because without happiness, you don't have anything. So we should always prioritize your happiness, even though, even if that means giving up something that might end up hurting your application or your grades. Because, if you're not happy, then even if you get into college, you're not going to be happy. So the most important thing is being happy. And it's also important to learn to identify your negative emotions and learn to cope with them, especially since you will experience a lot of them in the college application process and probably in life as well. So that's all I have for today. And I actually forgot to put in my contact information. So I'll type it in the chat later. So if you guys have any questions, you can text me, and I can type in Chinese. I'm good at Chinese. I just can't speak it that fast. So Chinese is also fine. Thank you.